During our recent video call, something felt unusual. Clara was seated in our living room, but the throw pillows were arranged in a way that caught my attention. It was such a minor detail that I nearly overlooked it. After 8 years of marriage, you tend to notice these subtle changes. The teal pillow she always kept on her side of the couch was missing, replaced by one I didn't recognize. When I brought it up, she brushed it off with a laugh, saying she just wanted a change. At the time, I was finishing up a 2-week trip to Chicago for a significant project, a huge career opportunity. Clara had been encouraging when I left, telling me to impress everyone. But as the days passed, her messages grew shorter and our calls felt more hurried. She stopped asking about my day, and when I shared updates about the project, her replies seemed empty, almost scripted. Just tired from work, she'd say. You know how it is. And I did know. I had supported her in building her career from scratch. What she didn't realize was the extent of my investment in her success. But that's a story for later. The first real warning sign appeared 3 days before I was set to return. During our usual evening call, I distinctly heard a man's laughter in the background. When I questioned her about it, Clara quickly brushed it off, saying it was just the TV. But I knew better. Our TV had a specific soundbar I had installed myself, and this was unmistakably a person's voice. She cut the call short soon after, blaming a headache. I arrived back home at 2 p.m. on Thursday. I sent her a just-landed text, but there was no reply. Something unusual, as Clara always responded within minutes. The Uber ride home seemed to drag on forever. As I got closer, more things felt out of place. Her location sharing on our family plan was turned off, and her Instagram stories showed our living room from angles she'd never used before. When I tried to unlock the door, my key wouldn't turn. At first I thought it was just stuck, but it took me a full minute to realize the lock had been replaced. Standing there, suitcase in hand, I felt an eerie calm wash over me. 8 years of marriage, and my wife had changed the locks while I was away. That's when her message popped up. I found someone better. Don't bother trying to come in. I've moved on. The timestamp revealed she had been typing it while watching me through our security camera, from my couch, in my own home. I took a deep breath and replied, "Are you sure about that?" Then I turned and walked away, calmly wheeling my suitcase behind me. No shouting, no banging on the door, no dramatic outburst, just the sight of those 3 dots appearing and disappearing as she struggled to respond. I checked into a nearby hotel and called my friend Marcus. Within an hour, he had uncovered what I hadn't noticed. Clara had been seeing someone named Julian, a client from her firm. They'd been spotted together at restaurants over the past month. But here's the twist. Julian had a pattern of targeting married women in positions like Clara's, always when they were on the verge of significant career advancements. As Marcus continued talking, I logged into our shared cloud storage. Clara wasn't particularly tech-savvy. She'd never bothered to change the passwords I had set up. There, I found photos of her and Julian together in our house, dating back 3 weeks. But in her haste to replace me, she'd overlooked something critical. My phone buzzed again. Clara's message read, "You're taking this better than I expected. No fighting for us?" Guess I was right about finding someone better. I couldn't help but smile, thinking about the document I'd just discovered in our cloud drive, a file she'd forgotten about from when I'd helped her set up her investment portfolio the previous year. I took a screenshot and sent it straight to my lawyer. "Give me 4 days," I texted her back. "Then we'll see who found something better." Her reply came instantly. "What's that supposed to mean?" I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and started drafting an email to some old colleagues. By midnight, I had everything I needed to make her realize exactly what she was about to lose. The following morning, I began setting everything into motion. For now, I'm savoring the constant stream of notifications as Clara frantically tries to piece together what I know. The irony, she's completely unaware that the comfortable life she's currently living, the one she's sharing with Julian on my couch, was built on foundations she's about to destroy. Let her enjoy her so-called better choice for the time being. In 4 days, she'll discover that some decisions come with consequences she never anticipated. Update. First, I want to thank everyone for the overwhelming support on my previous post. Your encouragement kept me grounded. Now here's what's unfolded in the last 24 hours. Remember that document I mentioned finding? It was the agreement Clara signed when I helped her establish her investment portfolio. What she overlooked was that I wasn't just assisting her, I was the primary source of the capital. The agreement explicitly stated that in the event of our separation, certain investments would have to be liquidated immediately. But that wasn't what sent her into a frenzy last night. Clara's sister, Rachel, reached out to me in tears. "I can't stay silent anymore. Julian, he's done this before, 3 times. He targets women like Clara, exploits their connections, and then vanishes once he gets what he wants." While I was already aware of Julian's pattern, Rachel shared details I hadn't uncovered. She sent me screenshots of conversations between Clara and Julian from 2 months ago. It wasn't just about their affair. They were plotting business opportunities using confidential information I'd shared with Clara about my company's upcoming projects. "There's more," Rachel added. "Last week, Clara asked me to hold on to some documents for her. She said they were just backup copies of work files. I looked at them today. She's been moving large sums of money around." I thanked Rachel and ended the call. Immediately, I logged into our joint accounts. There it was, this. Clear as day, Clara had been making significant purchases, masking them as household expenses. Art pieces, designer furniture, even a new car. All of it had been bought within the last month, tucked away under vague labels like miscellaneous transactions. The kicker? She'd used our joint account for the down payments, but the bulk of the purchases were charged to her company expense account, the very account I had helped her establish years ago, and where I was still listed as a financial advisor. It was time to make her fully grasp the stakes. I sent her a text. Just had an interesting conversation with the board about those expense reports, especially the ones from last month. The couch looks great, by the way. Original receipts would be helpful. Her reply came almost instantly. What are you talking about? I followed up with, oh, and Julian's history with Carson and Mills was quite revealing. 3 settlements in 2 years. Impressive, really. The typing indicator flickered on and off several times. Finally, she responded, we need to talk. I replied, we will, after I finish my meeting with the ethics committee tomorrow. Her next message reeked of panic. What meeting? Please, let's discuss this. I didn't answer. Instead, I forwarded Rachel's screenshots to my lawyer and drafted an email to the board outlining my concerns about certain financial irregularity. I didn't send it yet, just keeping it as insurance. Marcus showed up at the hotel with takeout and a USB drive. You won't believe what I found, he said, opening files on his laptop. It turned out Julian had been recording his conversations with Clara. Not just personal moments, but detailed discussions about upcoming project, client information, everything. He's using her, Marcus said, shaking his head. And she's so caught up in it, she doesn't even see what's coming. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Clara had shifted from panic to desperate bargaining. Whatever you think you know, you're wrong. I can explain everything. Please don't do anything rash. But it was her last message that really stood out. The board doesn't need to know about any of this. We can work something out. I couldn't help but smile as I sent my final text of the night. Check your email in 10 minutes. Pay close attention to the attachment from March 15th. March 15th, the day she signed the partnership agreement, the one she clearly hadn't read thoroughly enough, the one that granted me significant control over the company's major financial decisions. As I write this, Clara is frantically blowing up my phone. Julian's name has mysteriously vanished from her social media profiles. The designer couch she purchased with company funds, the one she proudly showcased in those photos, is suddenly up for sale online. Tomorrow morning, I have a meeting, not with the ethics committee, that was just to unsettle her, but with someone who stands to lose far more if Clara's recent actions come to light. I'll provide another update once everything is set in motion. For now, I'm watching her slowly come to the realization that her so-called better choice might cost her everything she's worked for. And the best part? I haven't even played my biggest card yet. Final update. It's been a month since my last update, and I wanted to wait until everything was settled before sharing how it all unfolded. Remember that last card I mentioned? It wasn't just about the company shares or the expense reports. It was something far more deliberate. Let's start with the couch, that $112,000 designer piece Clara bought to impress Julian. She didn't just use company money, she dipped into a special account earmarked for an upcoming merger. The same merger Julian was trying to get insider information about. But here's the kicker. I knew she'd do something like this. 5 years of marriage taught me that Clara couldn't resist flaunting her status. So 3 months before my Chicago trip, I began laying the groundwork. Every casual conversation about my company's projects, every detail about potential deals I shared over dinner, it was all carefully crafted misinformation that seemed valuable but was ultimately useless. The real projects, the actual deals, those were protected by NDAS Clara never even knew existed. The morning after my last update, the board convened an emergency meeting. They confronted Clara with everything: the unauthorized expenses, the leaked information, the recorded conversations with Julian. But the final blow? It came from Rachel. My sister-in-law walked into the boardroom with a laptop containing emails between Clara and Julian. Emails that detailed how they planned to use my insider information to profit from the merger. These emails were dated before I even left for Chicago. I kept copies of everything, Rachel told them, her voice unwavering. Every time she asked me to hold on to documents, every conversation about exploiting my position for their gain, I couldn't stay silent any longer. Clara tried to defend herself, insisting she had been manipulated by Julian. That's when Olivia stepped in. She presented evidence proving Julian had been collaborating with our biggest competitor the entire time. Every piece of valuable information Clara had leaked to him was actually carefully crafted misinformation, designed to lead our competitors into costly dead ends. The board's decision was unanimous. Clara was terminated. Her stock options were voided, and her reputation in the industry was left in ruins. But I wasn't finished. Remember that partnership agreement she signed? The one that granted me control over major financial decisions? It included another critical clause. Any ethical violations would trigger an immediate review of all personal assets acquired during the partnership. The house, purchased with a loan I'd guaranteed, her car, bought through a company lease I'd arranged, even her prized designer wardrobe, mostly acquired with company funds I'd helped her access. By the time my lawyers were done, Clara was left with exactly what she'd brought into our marriage: her modest personal savings and a pile of student loans I'd quietly stopped paying off. Julian vanished vanished the moment things fell apart, but not before my private investigator meticulously documented every meeting, every transaction, and every lie he'd fed Clara about his wealthy family and business empire. Last week, I received a hand-delivered letter from Clara. Inside was a house key, the same one she'd had made when she changed the locks. There was also a note. I understand now. You didn't just help build my career, you designed its self-destruct sequence. She was right. Every step up the corporate ladder, every connection she made, every opportunity she seized, I had carefully orchestrated it all with one purpose. It could all be dismantled the moment she betrayed my trust. The couch? It was just delivered to my new office. A fitting reminder that sometimes the best revenge isn't about tearing someone's world apart. It's about letting them dismantle it themselves while believing they're on top. Marcus asked me yesterday if it was all worth it, if spending years crafting such an elaborate contingency plan was overkill. I glanced around my new corner office, the one that used to be Clara's, and smiled. The best revenge, I told him, is watching someone realize that their better choice was actually their greatest downfall. Yesterday, I signed the final paperwork. The merger went through, the real one, not the decoy Clara and Julian had tried to exploit. The company's value tripled overnight. Clara watched it all unfold from her parents' guest room, where she's been staying since her world crumbled. Her last text to me was straightforward. You planned this all along, didn't you? I didn't reply. Some questions don't require answers. The designer couch now sits in my office, barely used, a $112,000 trophy of someone else's arrogance. Sometimes the best things in life aren't free. They're just paid for by someone else's mistakes.